Welcome everybody to The Worlds Don't Keep. This is episode 14. I know we had a long break, but finally carved out a nice area of time where we can get the show in during our busy schedules. Hopefully everyone out there had a nice Christmas and New Year's. Happy New Year to everybody. First show in 2011, hopefully many more. Joining me, as usual, full roundup. Jordan covering lore, Dan covering video, and Ken covering news. And this is going to be hopefully a short show tonight since I'm running on limited time. I'm kind of between many things here. Very busy. I'm actually on vacation in Colorado right now. So let's jump right into the intro question of the week. This one comes from CPSLO student from the blog.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah. Have you or do you have any girlfriends/boyfriends? And if so, how did they respond to your interest in video games? So, anyone want to start out with this one? Go for it.
My current girlfriend and I, our first date was, well, I shouldn't say date, but one of our first sort of things together was actually playing Little Big Planet as a couple, so she's kind of okay with it.
That's awesome.
I'm single at the moment. I've had, relationships in the past where it'll be either or, either they'll be interested or not. What's funny to me is when he said that, I was thinking about an ex I had, and we were playing that particular game. So, wasn't the first date, but it was some time after. I don't know.
How's that game? I've never played it. Little Big Planet.
I played it very little, so it was kind of fun for a little while. I don't know.
I enjoy it. It's a platformer. It's fun. It's got character. Second one's coming out soon.
Right on. What about you, Dan?
Dan already answered. You mean me? Ken?
Oh, Ken. I thought he was you.
Jeez. Well, I think I mentioned in a previous podcast that my girlfriend and I went to BlizzCon together, so I think that
pretty much sums it up.
answers just about everything you need to know.
My personal experience, previous girlfriends know, which sucked because I play a lot of video games, but I'm currently seeing a very awesome girl who is very into video games. We're actually going to start working on getting her a computer so she can game with me, because she takes over mine when she's over, and well, it's cool watching her and everything, but it's just a different experience when you get to jump in and play too. So yeah, there's that.
There's that.
And that'll do it for intros, so let's go ahead and get into some lore. What do you got this week?
I'm trying to think of where we left off. It seems like it's been so long.
It's been a very long time. Too long.
Let's see. If memory serves me right, they were all pretty much on the path of convergence there. So by this point, we have Kara Night Shadow, who's basically after the process of securing the armor. Because that's, she's a necromancer. That's kind of what she does. Mm-hmm. You also have Norik, who's, still more or less on his quest to try and get the armor off. And, he runs into to Drognan in the story, actually. It's very interesting. And I don't think I actually got into this part of it yet.
No, you didn't.
When he actually makes it across the Twin Seas, as it were, and finally manages to get to Luke Ghislaine. And, keep in mind, this was quite an ordeal. I'm trying to remember if I mentioned it last go-around, but when he was on that boat ride, he was on this really crap vessel. It looked like it was going to fall apart and sink at any moment. Very questionable-looking crew. Yeah, and then when this, storm rolls around and whatnot, and everything starts to go to hell, the suit summons up these demons to keep the thing, together. These giant slug-type monster things that just secrete this fluid over it and repair the bowels and, keep the thing afloat. And the crew pretty much hightails it off, just, see you later, I don't care if we get killed, it's better than staying with you.
Wow.
And the only one that stays is the captain. So here you have this, crazy old wild-eyed looking guy, can't understand what he's saying half the time, it's just like, really resentful of Norik, especially by this point. It's just like, well, I don't care. And our little demon friend in the story, Zazax,
Zazax
has been more or less trying to trying to get a hold of the armor for, I don't know, at least 100 years or something ridiculous.
Right.
And he actually summons up a sea monster, tentacled sea monster to attack the boat, snatches Nora up off the deck, and he pretty much blasts the thing halfway to hell with lightning bolts and crash lands back on the deck.
Dude.
Pretty epic scene right there.
Yeah, just played
Very
that out
fun
in
read.
my head, and wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, just imagine
Sea
him.
monster.
Just imagine him pointing his hand out and lightning bolting the thing's eyeball out.
Oh, brutal. That's rad.
The armor does not play with anybody, It's just all business.
You want some? Want some
All
lightning
stick,
to the
no
eye?
carrot, ever.
Jeez.
Yeah, and in the process, days behind on the sailing trip with the innkeeper who was a captain and crew who were actually killed by the sea monster, and Zazax questioned some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so she basically pulls this guy up onto the deck, locks him in a room, and performs this minor spell that allows him to recount his last moments. But basically, she's doing it in such a way that it's happening to her.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine reliving someone's last moment, but you were that person.
Depends on how they died.
Yeah, not so great for this guy, sea monster, and then
No.
Zazax questioning you, the giant, crazy killer mantis.
No thanks.
Yeah, not too pleasant. So yeah, that pretty much covers, I think, the parts there. The other
How's
things that
Drognan
happen,
in the book? You said he was kind of a jerk, because I liked him in the game.
Drognan snatches him up, takes him to his secret arcane area of his own. It's actually a very old part of the city that people would just assume it was an old abandoned building, but it actually has this huge structure inside it. So he commandeered it. It was there for a long time, made by the Vizjera mages, and makes it his own and says, well, nobody's going to know about it unless I tell them. This is my place.
Ninja.
I'm hijacking it. Deal with it.
Nice.
And so he takes Norik in the armor. He's like, oh, don't worry. The armor's under my control. And he's probing it for questions through Norik. So he puts him into this dreamlike state, and he's going through this labyrinth, and he's trying to ascertain the location of the Arcane Sanctuary.
Mm.
Little does he know, the armor is actually doing the same thing. And it's just using them both. And as soon as the armor actually gets the information, it's like, sorry, Drognan, skapow! And just, knocks him out.
Ooh.
It's just like, yeah, you were no match for me. I'm sorry. I led you all
You
on.
were my pawn.
So for a little bit there, Norik was excited. He was a little bit leery of Drognan because he thought, here's this guy that just wants to use me for information. I just can't catch a break ever.
Right.
He's like, well, maybe this will turn out. Since Drognan has power over the armor, maybe things will work out. No.
Dream on.
So yeah, he ends up winding through this spiral staircase, going down, seeing all these statues of the great Vizjera mages that actually defeated Bartuk. And he notices all these details in the dream start to get distorted, and they become people in his life that he knew, and all of these different things. And, so all the details get a little fuzzy at parts. And he actually does manage to find his way into it, but it comes a little bit later. Catching up with another part of the story, we have Galliona the Witch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allies herself with Augustus Malvolin, who's the general. And the general and Zazax actually form an alliance. Zazax tests him, sends him out, basically out into the desert to get attacked by these scarabs and maggots and things like that.
What a dick.
Under the guise of one of his soldiers. And in the midst of it, this black sword materializes and he manages to kill all of them. And Zazax's like, good job, you passed, He's like, well, what would happen if I didn't?
You weren't
Oh, we're not
supposed
going to
to.
talk about that. It's like, well, then you wouldn't have been worth my time anyway, but you're the great one! All hail the new Bartok, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So Zazax forms an alliance with Malvolin, and they're now plotting for Malvolin to kill Galleona, but she wasn't going to take it lying down. She knew something was afoot and fled.
Mm-hmm.
And out in the desert, she actually manages to stumble across Norik. Now, by this point, Augustus knows that he wants the armor. He knows it's in Luke Ghislaine, and he knows he wants the city anyway. So he cuts a deal with Zazax, and they perform this ritual, who is actually through Belial. Belial is actually the benefactor of Zazax, if I'm not mistaken. And basically takes every last soldier in his army, does this little... it's kind of a brothers in arms type thing, I'm going to prick your finger, we're going to mix this blood, and, we're going to be, seal the deal, you're mine kind of deal.
Right.
So they've been soldiers a long time. They were used to that kind of thing. But this was a dagger given for the ceremonial purpose. And what it actually does is it possesses everyone in his army. I mean, literally demonic possession.
Ooh.
Inhuman, monstrous type things.
Crazy.
That are just wearing the shells of humans and can't be killed by regular means. You could just stab the thing in the throat and it'll still kill you.
Right. Kind of like zombies. But more crazy.
Yeah, like super zombies.
Zombies on steroids.
Yeah, zombies on steroids. And they actually attack the city in a later part here.
Yikes.
Yeah, so Galleona ends up trying to persuade Norik. She recognizes him from that time where they tracked him down in that dream state and everything. And he's a bit off his rocker by this point to some degree. He actually addresses himself as Bartok when they first meet. He seems a little, crazy by that point, but he kind of regains his normal self and composure. And so they're traveling along, and they're actually going into the Arcane Sanctuary from an entrance out in the desert. So they end up there, and Kara actually ends up being taken by the summoner who thinks of himself as Horizon. And this is the really cool part. When she actually enters the Arcane Sanctuary, here's this crazy old guy who claims to be Horizon, who would, by all accounts, be several hundred years old by now.
Mm-hmm.
And, probably wouldn't think too much. It's like, this guy is really crazy. He's really old. I don't know what to make of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
If this is Horizon, he must have been hiding out a long time. Probably lost his damn mind. So yeah. So she's going through the Arcane Sanctuary, and in this part, she's trying to find her way out. She'll go down a corridor. She'll go through here and end up back where she started. So this is impossible. This whole place doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It works almost like by will. I'll end up over here through this door because I want it to happen. And you have this little aspect where it talks about the really powerful Vizieri mages could actually create pocket universes. In other words, you could make your own space that completely defies physics and the laws of the universe by regular standards.
Mm-hmm.
You could just alter everything according to how you wanted it.
Right.
So she enters this huge, huge room, and she looks up, and she sees him eating off this dinner table on the ceiling. Nothing's falling. And he's all, oh, there you are. Come. And so she goes through the door in front of her, and now she's up on the ceiling. And she looks up, and there was the floor where she was a minute ago.
That's rad.
Yeah, so the Arcane Sanctuary was a pretty trippy, awesome place.
Definitely.
I would have loved to have seen it in the game like that.
I don't even know how they'd pull that off.
Yeah, probably not so much, but
They could do it, though. Portal's
They
pretty
could.
groundbreaking.
yeah,
I see a lot of that kind of trippy stuff.
yeah.
Dude, Portal
So all
blows
that
my mind.
aside, basically you have this confrontation where Norik and Galleona enter the Arcane Sanctuary, and by this point, the fake Horizon is freaking out. He's going, oh no, he's come. This is bad. This is very bad.
Right.
And, you can tell the Arcane Sanctuary is like, no, you gotta address this. You can't ignore this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, damn it, fine. We'll take care of it. So the suit reacts when it sees the fake Horizon. It attacks him, and the Arcane Sanctuary stops it, and it starts shaking violently and throws them all to the ground. Well, Galleona and Norik, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And Galleone's just like, if you can't stand on your own, I'm not helping you. And the armor doesn't like this one bit. And so, against Norik's will, it actually just pretty much fries her, just bang, you're dead.
Damn.
But before it manages to get the shot off, Galleona curses him, and now Norik's, suffering with this malignant curse of some sort that's, feels like it's cracking his bones inside of his body and all this terrible torment. And so you have all this stuff going on, and the walls start closing in around him, and you see Kara actually jump in the way to try to save Norik.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that moment, she realized that he was an unwilling participant, that, it was an actual innocent life that was in the midst of all this.
Right.
And what the Arcane Sanctuary does is it actually catapults the two of them out of the Arcane Sanctuary. And that'll pretty much be our stopping point for today.
Yeah, that's a good point to leave it.
Yeah.
Crazy. Alrighty, I guess up next, normally we would talk about Diablo 2. We left off in Act 2, and I think we pretty much covered it, so we're just going to go ahead and skip that next week. As you know, this is show 14. Show 15, as we all promised, will be live, of course. As of when that will be, I have no idea, so you're going to have to check Facebook or the blog, or look for a post on the Diablo 3 forums. I'll do either one of those or all three. I don't know yet. But since we're not going into Diablo 2 this week, that means we're going to jump right into news. And Ken informed me before the show that we got a bit of news, so let's get into it. What do we got, Ken?
It's just a little bit. It's not so much news now. It's kind of over the Christmas break, but it was the core attribute changes and the encounter. Well, I'm doing the little air quotes encounter system preview. The encounter system really, I don't know. It's kind of just a fancy way of saying there's a lot of stuff out there that wants to kill you, and it's going to try its hardest to do that. So, I don't know. The core attributes, though, have been completely reworked. So you don't have strength and agility and all that, or dexterity, whatever they use.
Really? What are those now?
So you have attack, precision, vitality, defense, and willpower. So most of those, I'm sure you can just guessing by the names. They're pretty easy to figure out what they do. So attack, you increase that, it increases your damage. Precision, believe that one is your
Chance to crit.
Chance to crit, yeah. Cleave crit is lifesteal. It's hard to read little text on a 100-inch screen.
God.
What's the button for
Overkill.
zooming in on a browser?
Hold control, and then it's mouse wheel up or down, one of those.
There we go. I can actually read it. All right. Anyways, so you got vitality. Obviously, that's health. Defense, that opposite of attack, lowers the damage you take. And then willpower, and that changes based on which class you are.
Right.
So they didn't really go into too much detail on what it is, but it kind of affects your resource, as in like how much you have, or the regeneration rate, or
Right.
degeneration rate. Yeah. So those are your basic stat changes, and I don't know. It's
do
tough
actually
to have an
I have a-
opinion on that direction.
I have a couple of I've got some opinions on the encounter system, or just the detail they've got out there. While you're right that it's not really a system, it does tell us something about the gameplay that we can expect, and that's that they've gone to a pen and paper sort of style, a modern pen and paper approach to things, where in Diablo 2, Diablo 1, you're running around and there's just kind of monsters everywhere. You'll come across a pack of randomly spawned stuff, and they've moved a little away from that. And we saw this in the preview videos where you come into a room and there's 7 of those cultists all channeling to become vessels, and there may be other things with them. And so those groups, those clusters, are just a lot more. They're more designed now. They're more pre-planned in the sense that, okay, well, this next one is going to have a couple of brutes, a lurker, a leader type, and a leader type mob in it. So you can expect much more crafted
Strategic, yeah.
and strategic combat flowing through it, rather than just being giant cluster of monsters in the halls.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add to the other topic of this news portion is that when you look at the new stat system, is that it's pretty much a simplification. They did the attack thing because, at times it was confusing for people to go, oh, I'm a caster, so does that mean I increase intelligence? I'm a barbarian, does that mean I increase strength, increase aim? They pretty much just simplified a lot of things like that.
Right.
The only other really unique aspect to the stats that really struck me was that defense does not increase resistances, nor does it increase armor class. What it does is it purely reduces damage, which is different from both, which was a stat you did not see in Diablo 2.
Yeah, it's an overall, it's like decreases all damage taken instead of something very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what
Which
type
makes
it is.
it actually useful to all classes.
Yeah, definitely.
And also useful in a variety of different situations, too, so it's not like, oh, I better put my lightning resist suit on kind of deal. Going against Rakanishu, go get your lightning resist.
Rakanishu.
Yeah.
There's
Our good friend
drama.
Uriel.
There's drama around this, like all things, because the Diablo fans are drama queens.
Yeah, they are.
So do you guys think that this is too simple of a change, or is it handy?
Nah, I dig it. Anything that gets in the way of me slaying monsters is just a pain in the ass. Anything that helps me and keeps me slaying monsters, I'm down with.
I mean, to
Even
me,
after
there's just
years
people
of
arguing semantics, if anything.
Yeah.
even after years of playing Diablo 2, if I don't play a class, like if I start a new character and it's not a class that I'm already familiar with, I kind of have to go look up a guide of like, okay, what stats do I actually want?
Yep.
Because there's so little in the game to actually, inform you as a player. That's the game making it hard to play itself. So I think just making it easier to play, it's the kind of thing that people are going to throw. They're going to be drama queens about, for the next, I don't know, few weeks, couple of months until they've got something new to whine out. And then after that, they're going to completely forget that it was different before the game came out.
Yep. When I was a youngin' and I first started out, I didn't know what all the stats meant at all, I was like, I'm a barbarian, so I'm just gonna throw everything into strength, right? What's vitality? I don't know what that does. Oh, it gives me a little health. No, I want strength. Give me strength.
I still love, like we've said this before about their other dramas about auto stats. I like that somebody actually made a post about them not liking auto stats, and it's like, stats have changed, right? Like you're a few dramas behind. Anyways, so like, it was they argue so much about it, but in Diablo 2, you get enough strength for the armor, and then everything else was like vitality.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
this at least, like, I hated that as a sorceress, putting points into strength. It was so.
It sucked. Throwing away
Now
points just to
putting-
be able to wear some armor.
Yeah, now putting points into attack, well, yeah, that's actually going to make me do more damage. So it's like each stat is going to be, like, each stat is useful for each class, instead of, like, this one and half of that stat's okay. Like, I want a little bit of dexterity, but only for, the increased, whatever, crit or something. But I don't need it for the ranged attack damage.
Mm-hmm.
I need strength for armor, but I don't need it for melee damage. So this,
See,
like, each stat has, like, a primary ability, and, like, that's it. Like, this does, it's very clear. It's not halved up and split all over. Which actually, it devalues the stats and the usefulness in Diablo 2 when they have all these multiple purposes.
It does. It really does.
It's useful for each class.
See, now I can actually see where the next little bit of drama will be with that, which will be people complaining about how a sorceress focused on spells is just as good as swinging their sword because of the attack stat. and it's like, someone will find something to complain about.
Have fun getting one-shotted as a sorceress if you tried hack a dude with a sword then.
Nice.
Can I, dear Bashiok, can I be a melee wizard, please? I
Sure, go
want
for it.
to swing sword and not buy spells.
I really wonder what a lot of people did before companies like Blizzard or like companies at all even let fans or customers have any kind of like say or input or forums.
Right.
Like I
was thinking
said, I
about
think
that.
very early. Like I didn't know about Diablo until the Diablo 1 demo came out, and by then it's like, well, this is the game. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah, I didn't even
You don't
see
get
it
any
till
say on it.
I saw it firsthand when it was already out.
The first really sort of public example of that where internet started interacting with the design process was Elder Scrolls Daggerfall. Bethesda was one of the first game companies to have a public forum that anyone could join, and Daggerfall wound up being an absolute mess as a result of the fans
Gong show.
People don't even
demanding
know.
you must include all of this stuff, and they were trying to include so much that it just got pushed and it got pushed, and they were listening. They weren't just listening; they were obeying their fans to the point that when the game shipped, there was like 3 patches waiting for you to download the moment you got it. You could not.
Wow.
It was impossible.
Terrible.
To
Game was amazing.
due to crippling bugs, and to today, they never actually got things like polymorph actually working. But the spells were still there. You could buy polymorph, but it did nothing.
God.
And it was an absolute mess because they listened to everything that the community said, and that was the first time we really got to see the results of a public ear and the downside of listening to that public ear.
Yeah.
Too much.
I'm down for filtering.
Too much. Listening to it too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point where you get a bunch of feedback, and then you go over it and say, okay, what are the pluses of this? What are the negatives? Instead of just going full throttle, let's try and please everybody. I mean, when the game drops, regardless, it's going to be amazing. No matter how much community input is in it. I'm pretty sure Blizzard is picking out the stuff that they really like and it's like, yeah, let's try and throw that in there if we can. See how it works. If it doesn't, let's cut it out.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it seems like when you look at the forums, you look at community feedback, it really seems like only about 10% is useful in any way.
If that.
The other 90,
Yeah,
the other 90% is just total crazy people and stupid people and what was this person thinking when they even picked up a computer and decided they were going to type something with it.
I have to say, I do not envy Bashiok's job at all. Having to read all those, no thank you.
I bet he gets free Tylenol.
He better be getting free Vicodin.
Seriously, I need to be numb.
The good stuff.
I have to work today. Oh man.
Lifetime prescription of Vicodin. Well, I was just browsing it over the Christmas holidays, and there were so many posts. I was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Dude, I've been cut off for like a month at least, which is why there hasn't been any shows. Been enjoying my holidays.
I mean, 9 out of every 10 posts are just going to be somebody whining about something that's in the game for a reason. So
yeah, and rarely
you don't miss too much.
Rarely do I come across a post where I'm like, hey, that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
Oh, we got.
Do I need it in game? No.
We had another suggestion for the Endless Dungeon.
The Endless Dungeon.
Yeah, that one's been
like a new suggestion for the Endless Dungeon.
No, just we need to have an Endless Dungeon again.
Oh, okay.
We do?
Yeah, that one's been beaten to death so much on the forums.
It was funny. I think Diablo 3 should have an endless dungeon after completion of the hardest difficulty that gets exponentially harder, similar to another game that I do not remember the title of.
Whoa.
Well said, women's rights, LOL.
And
okay.
I don't think it should have an endless dungeon. Like, part of the reason why I don't think it should have an endless dungeon is because there's a part of me that says I want an endless dungeon.
Yes.
But I know that listening to that part doesn't necessarily mean fun. It's like Jurassic Park 2 was a huge letdown, but Jurassic Park 3 was actually pretty good because you walked out of the theater going, wow, I want to watch more of that movie.
I
Now, it
think
had its
I
flaws,
don't
but it leaves you with that feeling
I
of,
don't
I
even
want
know what you're talking
more.
about, but
Torchlight to me felt like an endless dungeon. Going through their dungeon and it just keeps going. I'm
It
like,
was an endless dungeon.
it
is
was
this ever
endless.
gonna stop, or do I just like keep going
No,
down
it
more and
doesn't.
more? You know, that's one of the things I didn't like about the
But
game.
But
for me
it,
to
it's
actually
by
to down.
basically
in
by
that same
not allowing you to do it endlessly, it creates hunger. It creates that desire to have an endless dungeon, and that's what makes it good, is because it leaves that lingering feeling of wanting to do more. If you actually had an endless dungeon, if you actually had infinite ice cream, if you actually had a movie that went on forever,
Exactly.
you'd just eventually go, screw it, I'm going home.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I want the best gear in the game. Here it is. Now it's
Yeah,
not fun
exactly.
anymore.
It's like cheat codes. It's like once you do the cheats, you're like, okay, I'm bored. After like 10 minutes, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm a god. I can do anything. This sucks. There's no challenge.
that, and if there was an endless dungeon, would you really go anywhere else? I
It'd
mean,
be the new cow level, man.
well, yeah, exactly. It's like that's where you go because it gets harder and harder. So obviously, the better and better loot's going to drop in there. So why go anywhere else? Why experience any other parts of the game or do any of the other quests? Just or any of their other end game content? Just go to this endless dungeon.
It should make it endless, but at a certain point, make it really hard, like impossible hard. You're like, well, you got to be good enough to pass, man.
It's all Uber Diablos. It's just packs of Uber Diablos.
I will give
Fire lightning.
I'll give credit where it's due. People who did post on those ridiculous endless dungeon threads, there were at least several people, and however many there were, that said, okay, you can have an endless dungeon, but if they do, it'll drop no loot and you'll get no experience. It'll just be for fun.
Just for kicks. All right, I guess that's all the news we got. Let's move on to some community feedback. This one comes from Chiro, the blog. We talked about Diablo clones. We talked about Sacred. That's probably one of the best out there. And he mentioned you can get it on GOG.com. That's Good Old Games for $5. You get Sacred and the expansion, which is an excellent deal. So if you want to check out Sacred, play a Diablo clone, never played it before, GOG.com.
That
Nice.
website's actually really good for a lot of old classic games.
It is. They got a lot of old school games on there. Very good website. We got another question here. This one comes from Melik from the blog. Since all the classes have been released, what class do you plan on playing first once Diablo 3 comes out?
Probably Wizard.
Monk.
I think right now monk, but maybe barbarian, maybe wizard, maybe witch doctor.
Maybe Demon
Narrow
Hunter.
it down, why don't you?
Wizard,
maybe
maybe.
demon hunter. So, but right now the plan is monk.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I mean, when the Demon Hunter video came out, I was like, boom, that's it. But as time went on, I'm kind of like, I don't know yet. I mean, I got 4 to choose from. Can't just jump into something like that. So I
They're
think
all
I'll
so
have to
good.
I'll have to cross that bridge when I come to it. So right now I'm still up in the air about it.
Once the game's installed and you're looking at the character creation screen, it's like, yeah, you're the hottest. I'm definitely going with
Your stilettos.
Well, and it wouldn't be the first time that I planned, like, okay, I'm going to be this class. And then the moment I was at the character creation, I'm like, ooh, shiny stuff over here. Let's play this instead.
Which character
You-
I want to stare at for the next 10 years of my life?
You are the class that I think I would have the best chance running around naked with. So, just kidding.
You're talking about the barbarian, right?
Obviously, the man barbarian with the pink underwear. Yes.
Damn straight. I have a question for you guys.
What's up?
Did you follow the developmental process for Diablo 2?
I did to a degree. More so, I followed the development of StarCraft, but I do remember keeping pretty heavy, keeping tabs on Diablo 2 as it was in production.
I did not. I was a youngin' back then. So no. I didn't.
What about you, Ken?
means to track it.
No, I was too busy playing games to pay attention to games being made.
Yeah, I was even a big Diablo fan back then. When I was following the Diablo 2 news and the changes and everything during development, I was really planning on being a necromancer. And then when the game came out, I was like, I'm not feeling the necro. I'm gonna go over here. Let's play some barbarian. Let's play some paladin or something. You know.
Yup.
That one I did end up carrying straight through because before it came out, I was planning on playing a sorceress, and I did play a sorceress as my first character.
I think I based my decision on, when I first got Diablo 2, which character looked the most badass. And when you clicked on the Necromancer and he summoned up like those blue flames and everything, I was like, oh, that's it. Picking
Nice.
him. Plus his concept art in the game book was awesome. He's got that dagger and he's like dripping blood on the skull. Freaking
Yeah.
rad.
Yeah, I remember old screenshots of him running around with that scythe. I was like, oh man, I want a necro with a scythe. I'm gonna cut some people down. And when you play the game, you're like, oh, you can't really use a scythe.
Yeah. I remember
the-
it. That was like one of the first uniques I found. I found in Act 2 a unique scythe. I don't remember what it was called. But I remember equipping it, and I was like, dude, this thing sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, good old times. Alright, we got another question. This one comes from Steven through email. theworldsdon'tkeep@gmail.com. How do you guys view hardcore characters? I've never personally played it, but there is an idea I have for how hardcore and D3 should work. There should be two major pools, hardcore and softcore, if you will. All non-single player characters automatically start in the hardcore pool. There is no choice when creating your character. When your hardcore character dies, he/she gets moved into the softcore pool instantly, or into the next game. Thoughts?
I don't like it just because that. I mean, what's the point? There's a lot. I'd just be like, all right, well, I don't really want to play hardcore, so why don't I just go in and die right away and be in softcore? Like, there's no real, I don't know, there's no real penalty to dying in hardcore. All that produces is like, hi, I'm still in hardcore. I guess that makes me better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one
Like
of the
the
main
real thrill.
appeals of hardcore is the death, is
Yeah.
the permanent.
Hardcore's
Yeah,
hardcore,
the
man.
permanent death makes it more intense. This is like, oh, I died, whatever. I'll just keep playing softcore. Real thrill and fun with hardcore is you die, that's it.
Yeah,
It's game over.
I don't see Jay ever going for that. In his words, hardcore is hardcore, man. There's no safety net in hardcore.
Well, didn't he perk up a little bit
Yeah, he did.
with the hardcore achievement for beating hardcore naked?
Jay is
Yeah, he
not
did.
you to survive hardcore.
He's like, that's a good one. Good luck with that. I just love every time someone talks about hardcore, he just starts shaking his head and laughing that like evil laugh of his. He's just like, you guys are so screwed.
You
See, now
will
there's an
die.
old school dungeon master.
Yeah, he's just
Foxfall,
like,
you die.
you meet a wyvern, he poisons you, you die. Game
Oh,
over.
what? Come on, man. At least let me roll my dice. No, you're dead.
Yep. Type G poison or whatever it is. I hated that crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we thoroughly answered that. Which brings us to the end of the show. As always, thank you all for listening. I know it's been a long break. Hopefully, we won't have another long break. Next show, show 15, will be live as promised, and it will be all about Diablo 3. No lore, no Diablo 2, no news. Well, news, obviously, if it's about Diablo 3. So, look for the details on Facebook, the blog, or the Diablo 3 forums when I post them. As of right now, I have no idea, so just keep checking those regularly. Look for the post, Blood Penguin on the forums, and then Facebook, The Worlds Don't Keep. Any question, comments you want us to answer on the next show? Gmail, theworldsdon'tkeep@gmail.com. Shoot them that way, and we'll check them out. We also have a bunch of good episodes before this one, 13 of them, on iTunes. You can download not all of them, surprisingly, but you can get them all from the blog, theworldsdon'tkeep.wordpress.com. For some reason, it's only showing like the last 8 episodes on iTunes that you can download. But yeah, you can get them all from the blog. We're also on Blip TV. We got two episodes up on there, right? Yeah. I'm going to start uploading the audio for episodes because people want to wait to stream it. instead of having to download it every time. I didn't know it was an issue. They let me know very angrily. They're like, dude, WTF? I was like, sorry, nobody told me. So now you'll be able to stream it from blip.tv. Just browse the World Stone Keep. You'll find our nice video breakdown and the streaming of episode 13, I believe it is. So yeah, check that out. And now I get to go drive 2 hours to the mountains.
Exciting.
Yeah, going snowboarding.
I never went snowboarding, but skiing was pretty excellent.
I've never done either, so it's gonna be my first time.
All
You will
right.
be
have fun.
in so much pain.
Oh, I know it. I'm ready for it. Bring it on!
Bring extra padding for your ass.
It's gonna be hardcore.
You will fall on it a lot.
Just if you fall face first, don't put your hands out. You're gonna break your wrist.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
I-
just face
yeah.
plant it. Be a man.
Take it in the face.
Use your forearms. Like, well, no, honestly, like if you're falling forward, don't put your hands out. Like, just put your arms out and like so that you take it in the elbow.
I might end up with a broken bone or two.
Oh, good luck.
We'll see. Thank
May
you.
the force be with you.
I hope it is. On that note, let's say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
100-inch TV.
Play some big games on that for me.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, loyal listeners. We'll see you all next time on the World Stone Keep.